I'm Shelton Wilder, and welcome to Wilder Possibilities Podcast, where each episode follows an entrepreneur's journey into the transformative power of that light bulb moment where everything clicks. I call that the click. Those pivotal points that redefine our futures, illuminate paths to success, and even change the world. Now let's get wilder. Hi, friends. Welcome to Wilder Possibilities Podcast, where I have my special friend, Kelly McCall, here today, and she calls herself
a death doula.
A death doula.
That's right.
You heard that right, folks.
Or a death midwife, end of life midwife. Any of those are fine.
Those are all the terms. Well, this is fascinating, and I know you guys are going to want to tune in to hear the whole thing, because anytime we go anywhere together and I'm like, oh, let Kelly tell you what she does. People are like, what?
Yeah. It's definitely, it definitely shifts the conversation pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's a combo starter.
And it's not really something you want to necessarily drop on an airplane if you've got a long ride.
Oh.
You might want to tell people, you might want to make something else up, like, I'm a gardener.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love plants. Well, I want to hear the whole thing.
Okay.
Because, like, start to finish.
Yeah.
But also I want to hear like where you're from, how you got to LA, all the things.
Wow. Okay. All of it.
I know.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Well, I love you.
Oh, I love you too. And, and it's great to be here and be part of your epic journey. As the most dynamic female entrepreneur that I know, for sure.
Well, I love you.
So I've been in California most of my life.
Okay.
My daddy is from the South, as you know. I was born in Virginia, so we're both Southern girls by birth. Mm-hmm. And my mom settled in here. She grew up here. She grew up actually in Gardena. Went to Gardena High. Was the homecoming queen at her high school.
Wow.
And a whole thing. And so my parents got divorced when I was tiny. I have a sister who's a couple of years older. And we pretty much stayed around here. And then I moved up to the Bay Area to be with my dad when I was a teen. You know, a little the back and forth, the usual story of kids of the 70s, which I was. And then I spent about 9 years in Seattle. My sister had moved up there ahead of me, and she said it's a great place, and she was right. And I went there. It was beautiful. I hadn't done much schooling, so I did some community college there.
Yeah.
I started working at the Seattle Repertory Theater while I was up there. And one day, a woman came in and she said, hey, I need someone to help me with extras casting. And I said, I'll do it. What's that? And she said, well, we have to get people to come and work on this movie and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sure, I'm not working this weekend. And that movie was Sleepless in Seattle.
And be quiet.
Yeah.
Wait, shut up. You're one of my best friends and I didn't even know that.
So
just a little film.
Yeah. And so her name was Amy McGuire. It had been Amy Catonfort. She changed it. And she died, I think almost 2 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
So she had a partner named Tina Kerr. Tina is still doing this business. She's amazing.
Wow.
Talk about an entrepreneur you should have on your show.
Wow.
We all got together. We formed a company. We started doing extras casting all over the nation. Because, and you know, it was really, I think it was mainly Tina's idea that if we took the place of an additional assistant director on the movie, we can make it easier for the production and cheaper if they would just take us with them.
Yeah.
So it was called on-location casting. And if they took us with them on a movie, then we could do the paperwork. We could find extras in town
the area.
in the area that were local. We could photo double people. And it was really a brilliant idea. And so we did a bunch of shows together for a while. We did huge promotional casting job out in Boston where we had to fill the Boston Garden with 10,000 extras that would work for free.
Oh my
And then
God.
we got a call one day to go work on the Titanic. So
no, wait, why don't I? This is why I do the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can learn more about my actual friends.
Yeah. So we went down, Amy and I, and, it was a long haul. It was, 18 months. And so at a certain point in the production, we swapped out. Tina came, I left.
Yeah.
And then I left. I had enough of extras casting.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot.
it was a lot, and it was years, and I learned a lot. And, it's not always easy in a threesome in business. And so, it just was, we all just sort of went to do what we went to do.
Yeah.
And it ended up being great. For everybody. And then I went into assisting some producers who worked for IMAX, and I got to travel and learn about filmmaking. And then I was working on commercials, and I realized I kept getting calls to come work in LA, but I was living in Seattle. And so I finally was like, I should just move back to Los Angeles. So I did. And so I came here in 96.
Okay.
Moved to Venice and just was working. And one day I was on a commercial, and the second assistant director didn't show up. And the production manager said, Kelly can do it. And I said, what's that? What do you want me to do?
What's that job?
I know. And so he said, I want you to be the second assistant director, and let me explain to you what that job is. And he did. And he went out of his way to really teach it to me. And I think that's a theme with anybody that's on this show that you do. And in our lives, I know you and I have talked about it. It's just a real mentorship. Like people that stop and take a minute, men or women, don't understand. Like, I still remember all of those people, no matter how long ago it was, that took the time to really teach me.
Wow.
Even if it was 15 minutes, like, you need to get a mechanical pencil, and this is how you write it in, and this is military time, and this is why you do it, and all of these things, and you start to build your bag of tricks, right? So I was a second AD for a long time. I did a lot of music videos and commercials and all kinds of things, and then I got a call from a friend of mine to help with a project for the Department of Defense, and we went and shot footage for a simulator. And the people I met on that, it steamrolled into work in post-production and visual effects. And that's where I landed.
Yes.
And that's what I loved. I love being on the other side of the camra. I love understanding. I know, not this. No.
Sorry about this. I didn't even tell her. She looks amazing.
But really understanding that in post-production is where the story's put together, the editing, the music, the whole vibe, how it's cut, that what you shoot in those grueling days of shooting is excellent, but until it's assembled, you don't really know the story. Yeah. And so I was lucky. I landed with a group of great people. I landed with an amazing visual effects producers who taught me everything, taught me budgeting, taught me how to spot things, coordinators that taught me about post-production, all of the things that were involved. And then I fell into literally just like you would just trip over a wire. I tripped into this group of people that ended up being my pod that I was with for a long time. And they were all doing shows with Jean-Marc Vallée, who did Dallas Buyers Club, and he did Big Little Lies and all of those shows. And he became quite a mentor for me. And then he sadly died a few years ago on Christmas Day in Quebec City at his cabin. So great health, 58, top of his game. And, and it leads into this a little bit, which is we're all going to die, right? We don't know when. We think we have time. We think we have the time for a bucket list. We think it happens to other people and it doesn't happen to us. We think, I'll do my will next month. I don't need to talk to my kids about this. I don't need to have a plan with my husband. I don't need to have a plan for my pets. Nobody thinks about those things. So I had on and off throughout my life since I was in my late teens, attended people at their bedside who were dying. And it just happened. And it started out with like the mother of a friend. and I happened to be there, and my friend was there. And so I helped her like we do.
Yeah.
So many women, especially, you show up for your friend and helped the mom and all of that.
But I've never done that. You know what I mean? A lot
you
of
haven't
people
been called to. Maybe if somebody called you and said, but it's also, we all have different callings.
Different
strong suits.
This is amazing that is at such a young age you've been called for that.
Right. But also sort of pets. So just this cycle of life. And then it happened with my godmother, and then it happened with all these other people. Wow. And what I realized is that I was sort of producing these deaths, meaning I would show up and it would be clear that we needed a schedule, like of people to come and help, and we needed a schedule of food, and there should be a notebook for people to write in, like what medications at what time. And then, oh my God, what about the bills? And what about the dog? And what about all of the things? And is her will done? So I started putting these things together for friends and family. And then when my stepfather died, my mom said, I wouldn't have known what to do, because you might be fortunate enough to have good palliative care and then call in hospice and have people come. But most people don't know what to do literally when someone dies. Like, would you know what to do? You just probably call 911, right? People don't know what to do. And then you don't know what to do the day after and the day after and the day after.
And the shock and the grief.
I put a notebook together for my mom. I ordered death certificates for her. And I said, you need to send one to this person. So on Monday, do these two things. On Tuesday, do these two things. On Wednesday, do. And then there's this is a part that's really crucial. And this is where the backside of being a doula, it's like postpartum work for a birth doula, which is, after a few weeks, when the casseroles are gone and the shock of the grief is gone, and the person has been buried or cremated, then what? And it depends sort of on your community and your family. And it depends on so many other things. But that's also where having somebody that you can talk to that knows things like hospice has to give free counseling for 18 months to the family of those who've lost somebody. So, and a lot of people don't know that. They might not be ready for counseling
first
in the beginning. Like if anything happened to my mother today or my husband today, God forbid, that I didn't want counseling for 6 months, but then in the 7th month, suddenly I wanted counseling, they would still need to give me counseling. So, after hearing lots of people say, Kelly, that's a job. And it's a job women have been doing, people have been doing for thousands of years. And I was like, no. And they said, no, really it is. And so when I looked into it and saw that there were organizations nationally, like INELDA, where I went to school, and all these other places, I decided to go get some formal education because I liked the packaging. I liked how they talked about things like rituals, legacy work, a vigil, and things as simple as, if you got a terminal diagnosis and you found out you had a year to live, what are all the things you'd want to have in place? So being able to help people with that. And that happened to me just about 3 weeks ago. I met a couple. My husband and I were out. We met a couple. They were great. We chatted. The next morning, she sent me a note. I sent her my contact information back, and she said, what's end of life doula at Colorpool? And I said, well, I'm a death doula. And she texted me back, my husband just found out that he has leukemia. He has 14 months to live. We don't know what to do. Can you come talk to us?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's God shot there.
And so what that looks like is I'll talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere. I give people an hour or two of free time. It depends on the situation. And talk to them about what's happening. Like, what do you know for sure? Do you have a prognosis? What did the doctor say? Okay, what kind of care do you have in place? And that's where the village comes in, because we need resources, right? Caregivers, some people can't afford caregivers. How do you get help if you don't have the means for it? How do you pull family in? this particular couple when I said, what happens when your husband can't work anymore? And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, how does the mortgage get paid? And she said, oh my God, I don't know. And I said, right, well, let's start thinking about that.
Yeah. It's all these practical things.
Yeah. And it's like, and you can see it happen in her because there's this denial that's just massive. It's massive. There's so much death denial, especially in North America. You know, people used to die at home, right? Mom would be at home, grandma would be at home, they'd die at home, we would bathe the body at home, they would shroud the body, they'd dig a hole in the backyard, put you in a casket, right? Or cremate. And then we started to be able to preserve bodies, which is a business, by the way. Now, some people want it, some people don't. And no judgment from me at all. But then things
preserve the body.
They put embalming fluid in the body so that it lasts longer and put you in a casket, that's airtight, right? So the body takes longer to decompose. But then the question is, well, why? You know, we're all going to die. We all, you know where soil comes from? It's not just an infinite amount of soil that's here. Soil comes from things that die. It comes from the leaves that die, from the worms that eat everything that dies. Like it's made. So it's birth, death, cycle of life.
Yeah.
But we never talk about it because people don't die at home anymore. We don't bury bodies at home anymore. People live longer. And we keep them alive longer because we can, which is a very different conversation. So because we can keep people alive longer, we do. And then they all end up on this list, as Stephen Jenkinson would say, of people that aren't allowed to die. Like, we can keep grandma alive, so let's keep her alive. But it's like, well, hold on. Is that the best thing to do? Is that what she wanted? How's her quality of life?
Yeah.
You know, and that's why having these conversations sooner, talking to your family, and why it can't be generational. Like, grandma there, right? You're there, your kids are there, and you can start having that conversation a little bit. Like, Mom, I know we've talked about what you might want. Like my mother and I talk about it. She wants to be cremated. She doesn't care what happens. She thinks she'd like to have her ashes sprinkled at the beach because she's always loved the beach. And I said, well, we can get a cardboard box ahead of time and you can help decorate it. She was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I think I might like to do that.
Yeah.
Friends can come over and decorate it. You can get a pine casket and paint it yourself. Like there are all of these things. Like it's your life. It's your death.
And I like the tree.
The tree. So that's becoming more of a thing. You can actually have your body put in a pod that turns into a tree. You can also take your ashes to nourish the dirt so that you can grow a tree. So they're getting a lot better at that. They're getting better at human composting, which is starting to happen more and more.
That just sounds kind of.
I know. It sounds.
Wait,
I know.
Let's go back. Human.
I know. But just sort of back to so death doula is a newer term to a lot of people, but it's something people have been doing for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Helping the family, helping the community, right? Helping people know that mourning is okay, which is why I think funerals are so important. And I think it's really important for people to be able to grieve, especially collectively, because then children learn it's okay. Like this whole thing about don't cry and let's just have a celebration of life and everyone wear yellow. Well, that's great. Maybe to me, it's just my personal feeling.
Yeah.
Like in a year, let's do the celebration of life, or in 6 months. But now it's important to be able to have sadness and to be able to have grief and to be able to have all of that so that you can then have more capacity for remembering joy and the liveliness of it and bring the color in. And I mean, it's a very personal thing.
Because we had just went to one and he planned the whole thing.
Well, exactly.
He it was actually amazing because he was an attorney. And so the whole thing was like, it was like, what are the closing statements and what are the opening remarks?
So funny.
And he had it all.
See, isn't that great?
Like that. And he wanted to have a life-size cutout of himself. that people were taking. So I walked up.
That is
I almost
so fantastic.
literally fell down the stairs. I was like, is that him? And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, but that's
But he
great.
had the best sense of humor, and he was just such a
How great is that?
hilarious guy.
Yeah.
And that
And
he
so-
planned he wrote it out. He planned the whole thing, every photo, everything.
And you cried and laughed through it, right?
Yeah.
Because it was so beautiful. And that's a perfect,
And his
humor, his way.
His way.
I love it.
So
I love it.
the whole time I was actually thinking about Yola. I was like,
But
Kelly
that's-
would really approve of that.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's so personal.
Yeah.
It's so personal. And I think, a lot of people say that they would like to have everyone come over, their friends, and write an index card about something that person, like that, if it was you, that you had taught them.
Oh, yeah.
And that they could sort of put a book together. And that's legacy work.
Oh, that's legacy work.
That's
I
one of
love
those
that.
things that you can start at any time in your life, and you can sit down and talk about your life's journey, what you want the story to be, what you want to instill in your children, what your values are, how important community's been for you.
Oh, yeah.
You're such a connector, so how important it is for you to connect and be of service and help other people.
Yeah.
All of those things. So that work can start anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And it can start when you're 20. You don't need a diagnosis for that. But it's something like a will, like anything else, that should be updated and looked at every 5 years. Like, hey, Clark, when was the last time you looked at your trust? Now, for you guys, it was probably somewhat recently.
We did it during COVID.
Yeah.
So a very positive thing that came out of COVID is that we were just like, wait, what? Like, what is happening around?
Right, because because it made you be thinking about death too, because so many people were dying.
Yes,
so it's one of the good things that came out of it.
It was, and then you had more time. Well, I was working like crazy, but we found the guy who is on your list that you can refer out to be Edmund.
He's incredible.
And so it's like we got to sit, and it was like very thoughtful work that went into it. It's like, okay, well, the boys would go with my brother Bo, and all these things that are like very big decisions.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things when you do that kind of work and you're thinking and feeling so much about, and death feels closer, is that there's this aliveness that seems to happen for people where they feel more present, more in the moment, less in their head, and more just alive. And it's a huge gift for me when I'm sitting with somebody who's dying. And I also volunteer at hospice. So I had a hospice patient die recently, and he did not die well. He didn't do any personal work. He had a lot of regrets. There was not forgiveness by him to anybody. And I saw him really struggle and be afraid.
Oh, wow.
And so what I try to say to people is it's never too late to write the letters, to say the things, to forgive, to be forgiven, to forgive yourself, to not just do foxhole praying that we've talked about, but whatever that is for you, and to really talk about what do you think happens when you die, and to say the word die, because that's what happens. You can say pass away or bought the farm or kicked the bucket, but people, they die. They're dying and they die.
Yeah.
And so people it's like the death phobic thing too. Like people don't want to talk about that. But the thing that I see is the more people are accepting of the fact that that's happening, because it's literally going to happen to every single one of us, no matter what we do.
It doesn't matter.
I know.
Yeah.
So they're accepting of it and they move towards it, and they're accepting of the dying instead of it being like, they think it's something that happens to them, but it's actually something that we do.
Oh.
Right. So a lot of people say, I just want to die in my sleep. Right? 99%. I just want to die in my sleep. And you go, well, how come? They go, well, I don't want to be in any pain. I'm like, well, what if I could guarantee that you wouldn't be in any physical pain? Because the medicine is good and you could be conscious but not have any pain. Like, oh, I don't know. I still don't want to do that. I'm like, so what you're telling me is that you just want to go from 0 to dead. Like you don't want to experience dying, whatever that is. Oh. And most people stop and go, yeah, it just like, right. You don't know what it is.
It's the unknown. Yeah.
It's the unknown.
Yeah.
The unknown is very scary.
Scary things.
You hear stories.
Yeah,
bodies make noises that are really scary.
Yes.
The death rattles. It's a thing.
Yeah.
It is a thing. And I prepare the family for it, and I prepare the person. Sometimes I go into a room and nobody, not the doctor, not the spouse, not anybody has told that person that they are actively dying.
Oh.
Right.
I mean,
it's shocking.
Yeah.
So they can be at home. They're not even under hospice care yet. And I'll say, so the doctor has said that you're stage 4 breast cancer, it's metastasized, it's in your lungs, it's in your brain. So which hospice are you using? And they'll say, oh, well, she's not dying. Right. And I'll say, actually, yes, she is. You are.
Yeah.
And we'll just make up an Lisa, has anyone told you that you're dying? She's like, yeah, I thought so. I thought I was, which is fascinating to me that we would need anyone else to tell us we're dying in the first place. But in the second place, that doctors might say, you should think about getting your affairs in order, but nobody says you're dying. This is about how much
very
time
direct,
you have.
very direct. Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you, 100 out of 100 times people thank me.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for telling me. And then they just go,
wow.
Because then they know some things they can do, right? They can get into action about. It's like, okay, so if you can be anywhere you want, where would you like that to be? Oh, you want to be at your brother Beau's house on his porch swing? Okay, great. Who else do you want there?
Yeah.
What do you want to be wearing? What about music? Do you want your dog there? Do you want your ding dong dog there with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. All of those things. And then we can start talking about that. Your friend, the attorney, knew about that. So he planned it.
Yeah, he planned it.
But a lot of people never think about it. And so it's one of those things where I like to talk about it. I think this terrified of dying culture, I think it's something that we should be talking about. And we've discussed the need to bring taboo subjects kind of out into the open a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. Well,
death and dying is one of them. Menopause was one. It's getting its time now, but we're also more than menopause, those of us who might be there.
Yeah. Recovery, lots of that stuff.
Recovery. We know women that have lost infants.
Yes.
Stillborn, horrible things, and nobody will talk to them about it. So it's creating a culture and a space where people can talk about those things, where it's normalized, where you can have conversations with your friends and family, with your closest friends, even at a dinner. You guys, so, Clark and I just did our trust. This is kind of what we came to. I was actually surprised that this is sort of what I was wanting. What are you guys going to do? It can be a conversation.
Mm-hmm. I just ordered them because I get spammed from Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Yeah. But I did order this book. I was actually going to show you, but it's like, whatever, like a folder, and it has all the slots for all the things. And I'm like,
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm like,
your passwords and your will and your advance care directive.
And I'm like, Clark, we have to sit and do this just because.
You have to.
We literally would be clueless. Yeah. And there's just too much weird stuff, like young people,
Yeah, I provide those things for clients.
Yeah. And they don't have to find them on Instagram.
Yeah. And I also have a checklist, the actual checklist for people who have just found out that they're terminal or been given a diagnosis. And another piece of this pie, because I think they all go together, is because we have such an aging population. By 2050, I think, we're going to have so many people over the age of 80. It's just staggering, like the statistics.
Yeah.
And so not only am I running into people who are dying all the time, because we're all dying at some point, they're often older couples, and one or more of them will also have dementia, right? So we get into the elder care piece. So resources on my website are people that help with assisted living. I have resources like Edmund and other attorneys that help with trusts. I have resources of people that do breath work and that can help the spouse, the family, the person who's terminal to really be able to stay present and learn to breathe. Like Blair Cobb is donating some time for that, and other people are too. And then we have the people that have funeral homes. So one of my mentors is a woman named Sherry Wolf, She started the Green Burial Council in California years ago. She's incredible.
Yeah.
And she has several funeral homes, and she does cremations and green burials, and she'll do a 3-day long Irish wake at your house if that's what you want. Like, she is dug in. And then there's another woman here called Olivia, who's amazing, that teaches death doulas, and she also has a green burial home. She really likes home funerals. And I will tell you, it's intimate and beautiful. And one of the best things about it is that today what happens is somebody dies, and I feel a little all over the place, but somebody dies and you call the mortuary and they come and pick up a body, and then the person's gone. And the next time you see them, it's at the church or it's at the wherever.
Yeah.
The great thing about taking a minute and understanding that you can, in the state of California, you can keep a body at home for several days.
Oh, legally.
There is a way to do it. It's not complicated. It's not weird. And that way you have a minute. For instance, like with my mom, I said, Mom, I would like to be able to have some time with you. We can wash your body. We can put you in a shroud. We can have you beautiful, before they come and just whisk the person away. And then they do feature setting, and they might put makeup on, and then it doesn't look like you're a person anymore, right?
Yes, that
can be creepy.
Yeah,
right?
I can't see it.
And that's why it's really, really great, even to have a few hours just with your loved one before they're whisked away, so you can really say goodbye.
Yeah,
so you can really hold their hand. Also, because a lot of cultures believe that the spirit, whatever that is, that's there, that people say leaves or goes somewhere else, it's not often immediate. So sometimes it can be a few hours, it can be a moment. So it's nice for the family to have privacy and some time to sit and be there until they feel like the time is appropriate for someone to come and take the body away. And that's where someone like Sherry comes in, because she and her team are just incredible. They are so loving. They are so sweet.
Compassionate.
They are so incredibly compassionate. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Wow.
It is a beautiful thing.
Well, I'll tell you a few things about death real quick. I don't ever want to see a body ever again.
You don't have to.
You heard it here first. I can't go see that open casket. I don't want that.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. I know I'm going to be 102, but still, I'll write this all out. Like, none of that.
Yeah.
But
I'll make sure. If I outlive you, I'll make sure.
And I do want people to celebrate.
Yes. Great.
Because
can we shed a tear first?
Yes, we can cry. Everybody can cry.
Okay.
But I will be so much older that it will be fine. They'll be like, she crushed life.
Yeah.
And
then you've already crushed it. Yeah.
But it's And then I was really sad, and I think about it a lot. It makes me cry.
Yeah. But you know what?
I had no say so and no anything about my mom's death.
I know. You've showed
and it really, really still.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I just cannot believe it, because she was so dynamic. She had so many fun stories. She was so beautiful. She had 6 kids, and none of us spoke. We weren't allowed to say anything about it. And the pastor that did it, he told a story about my mom that wasn't even true. And she has so many good stories. And I was like, is this guy literally? The siblings and I were all looking at like, who is he talking about? Like, great story. But that was certainly not our mom. I was like, that was certainly not my mom. So it was just like,
I hear these stories a lot.
Freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
So I love this. I am like your biggest fan about it. I think it's so interesting to always talk about, because I had a baby doula, she was like the love of my life. We're bonded. We always say hashtag bonded for life.
Yeah.
Because she was in there with me.
In there.
She was in there. She was wiping. We did every. We're in the shower together.
I got it.
The doctor's like taking his cashmere sweater off to get it. So, but it's like, and then Clark's too. It's like, oh, we love her. We love Lori forever. Yeah, she was on.
Yeah, you're like, and it's the same, because we go back to being babies. Like, I'm feeding people and I'm wiping their mouths, and I help care for my aunt, and she's she's in a wheelchair and she's drooling all the time now and she can barely swallow. And just, it's one of those things. But what you just said about your mom is so important because you hear this a lot. And I want to kind of back into this a little bit and say, it's never too late to go back and do your own version of that for yourself. And my phone was turned on. I'm so sorry. And you can still have that celebration. And I also encourage people to still talk to people who aren't with us, because everyone's biggest fear when you talk to them when they're dying is they are afraid they're going to get forgotten. And so we need to keep talking to them. We need to remember our ancestors.
Yes.
We want to be the people that they dreamt about when they were breaking their backs, coming across ships and coming in covered wagons and doing everything, enduring what they endured so that we could be here. So I want to make them proud, right? So we want to make sure that we don't forget them.
Yeah.
That's why in different cultures, they set a place for the people that are no longer here at dinner, even though they're not physically here. There's so much beauty and ritual culturally that we can bring in, and that it's never too late. I think people are craving it. And that's why people are always trying to kind of like, they're getting back to the land now because they're craving it. We're craving all of that connection.
Yeah.
We were robbed of it during COVID, and we want it so badly. But in respect to your mother, it's never too late to get your siblings together and have your own thing.
Yeah.
Ever. And say all the things that are true and do it wherever she would want to do it and do that whole thing. Because it's your mother, and the tears are a direct reflection of the amount of love, because grief and love are twin sisters that are just locked, holding hands. And it's beautiful because I can see every time you talk about your mom and your eyes well up, that endless cavern of love you have for her. And that's incredible.
Yeah, it's true. And so I'm going to do that at the beach next year. So you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Okay, Sibs, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're going to have like a Kathy roast, because that's like her favorite. And then I probably will do
all the music, the food, anything she would have wanted.
Yeah. And then she loved just to be talked about. Mm-hmm. That was her favorite. And then I'll probably do stand up again about my mom, because she loved it. She literally loved it.
You have to.
Yeah. Because she's just, her stories. There's no better stories than my mom. So But yeah, so that's all these things. And I love what your paper you gave me and what we were talking about is death with dignity. Death with dignity.
It's so important that people feel heard and seen, that they're not dealt with, that they're not treated like they're just a disease, like someone with Alzheimer's. There's so much more than that. And it's so rampant. And, or they're not just cancer, or they're not, I've walked into a room with somebody dying who had their adult children around them, several of whom were nurses, and they were all standing 4 feet away from the bed, afraid to touch him. And, that's where it's really good to come in and say, hey, you can rub his feet, or is it okay to hold your hand? Or how about if we wash your hair? Or Mom, do you want me, I'm going to give you a facial. All of those loving things. You can crawl into the hospital bed with people, and people are dying for that connection and love. They're not the touch. Think about what it's like if you've even had a rough day and somebody comes in and grabs you and gives you a big hug. Yeah. So you can only imagine.
That's what Bo and Lane are for.
And Buster.
I snuggle and I give Clark a little hug, and then I snuggle.
But I think that's too, like my company's called Color Pool, because I remember driving 1,000 years ago. I was driving somewhere in Ireland, and I looked out over the coast, and when God rays come through the clouds and it hits the ocean, and it's like that magical aha moment. And I was like, and it just seemed like a million souls, just beaming through. And I thought, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like all that light, all the different colors, how we're all completely different, every little soul. And so I feel like when you think about water, or you think about God rays hitting the ocean or hitting anything like that. And the reflection, it's such a great metaphor for life, right? We're all dip our toe in when we need something, add to it when we have extra, be of service.
Yeah.
And people need help. You know, people are unattended and dying all the time, and they need support.
They need you. We need you.
They need all of us.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of resources on my website. It's colorpool.org. And again, I'm happy to talk to people. I'm happy to coach people. There's so much education out there for people that are interested in doing this work that just want to be informed. There's elder care, dementia care, hospice care, being a doula, all of those things. And you can do it a little bit, you can do it a lot. But I just want to say, I just want everybody to take a minute to think about, wow, I woke up today. Like, that's not a given, right? It's a given to us. We think, of course I'm going to wake up tomorrow. There's no guarantee. Yeah. So, wow, I woke up, and wow, I'm going to die one day. I want to, like, what are you putting off? You don't have time to be depressed.
Yeah, no.
You don't, all of those things, like, where are you unhappy? It's like, really dig into your life, do deep feeling, check in with your closest people, check in with your family, and really, really, really try to be as present as you can and be here with each other, because you and I know from other work that we've done and do, being present and really facing things is the only way through it. That's magical thinking, girl.
No. That's out.
There's so much of that. Yeah. No.
Oh my God. Well, I feel like that's the click that happened.
Yeah.
Because I've known you so long. Yeah. You are so passionate about this.
Yeah.
This is your calling.
Yeah.
You're producing all of this for people. Like, it's amazing. All your training.
It's so shocking when I saw the lack of support here in this space. And it's a guarantee. So it's just so strange to me that it's way over there.
Yeah.
But it's like, wait, but you guys, we need to bring it in. Let's bring it in. Let's make friends with it. Let's die well. Let's do ancestral healing so that we have a safe place to land. First of all, that our ancestors recognize us. Yeah. And second of all, that it's a soft landing when we get there, right? So talk to them. Talk to your mom. Yeah. Think about your grandma.
My grandparents. Yeah. Going to Japan. I'm going to plan that where they live.
Exactly.
All these major things that just will, ground you with your family,
your ancestry.
Your ancestry.
Yeah. Stephen Jenkinson, and I'll end with this, who's probably been my biggest teacher. He wrote a book called Die Wise.
Oh, that's smart.
Changed my life. Yeah. And I attended his orphan wisdom school in Canada this year. And, he talks about that all the time. It's sort of like you die twice. You die once when your body stops working, and then you die the second time when someone utters your name for the last time. Oh. And so let's not be the people that do that. Let's remember our ancestors. They're the reason we are here and able to talk today, and you're able to have your beautiful family, and I'm able to support people. Yeah. And we can do ancestral healing just by remembering them. And Grandma, what can I do for you today?
Yeah.
How are you? What was it like for you when you were my age? Like, just remembering them.
Wow.
It's magic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my favorite people. Yeah, my grandparents.
Yeah,
you're
one of my favorites.
You're one of my. You're doing. This is God's work, source, God, everything. I think it's very healing for people. I'm gonna be what's
It's been
needed.
Healing for me.
Yeah, I can tell. This is it.
Yeah,
you figured it out.
Yeah. Sounds crazy to say that, but
But then, okay, so your website
is colorpool.org.
Yeah. I just saw your website. It looks amazing.
Thank you. There's a ton of resources on it. I'm going to start having a few death cafes at my house. I'll let you know.
Okay.
And we'll have people there to talk, like Sherry Wolf will come.
Yeah.
We'll have other doulas there. We'll have people who work in dementia support. We'll have people that do placing for assisted living so that people can come for fun and for free and ask questions, and we can educate, because we all need to just be talking about this and normalizing
and
it.
bring it out and normalize.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye. I'm Shelton Wilder, and welcome to Wilder Possibilities Podcast, where each episode follows an entrepreneur's journey into the transformative power of that light bulb moment where everything clicks. I call that the click. Those pivotal points that redefine our futures, illuminate paths to success, and even change the world. Now let's get wilder.